taking direct fire in their front. Because during the bombardment, the overall Union artillery officer, Henry Hunt, expecting the appearance of the Confederate infantry, has ordered his men to halt their fire and save their ammunition for the appearance of the Confederates. But General Hancock, in the center of the Union line, wants to keep the morale of his troops as high as he can. And his guns have continued to fire long-range ammunition. So when the Confederates appear, they're actually only taking cannon fire on their right and left. That's what begins to force these Confederates towards the center.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a courtesy, you can feel the breeze picking up and look over to the west a bit. We just want you to be aware that there is a storm watch posted. This is a courtesy. We'd just like you to be aware there's a storm watch in effect.
I got an umbrella. Let's hope it's not a big storm like Indiana. It looks well.
You mean Virginia?
In the immediate target area of the Union line, there were approximately 6,000 men.
Oh, yeah, that killed
Excuse me, the Union Second Corps under General Winfield Scott Hancock in Norristown,
Florida
Pennsylvania.
as well.
The main Confederate advance consists of about 12,500 men, later supported by another brigade of 2,500 men on the far right, for a total of 15,000 men on the Confederate side making this attack over fields almost a mile wide. The distance of the march is approximately 7/8 of a mile between the two ridges. It will take the Confederates about 20 minutes to cover that ground.
So the Union was
got more of an important battle. Was he? Oh, he was lieutenant, not a captain.
When the Confederates reach the Emmitsburg Road, they get some shelter from the sunken road and the two 5.5-foot tall wooden fences in front of them. In order to inspire his men, one of General Pickett's brigade commanders, Lewis Armistead, will place his hat on the tip of his sword and say, "Who will follow me?" It will be about 200 of his Virginians that will not only reach the wall defended by the Union soldiers, but will actually breach it temporarily. Lewis Armistead's uncle was George Armistead, who was the commander of the U.S. forces at Fort McHenry in the War of 1812. When Francis Scott Key wrote of the flag still flying after the British had bombarded Fort McHenry, it was George Armistead, Lewis Armistead's uncle, that was commanding those U.S. forces when that flag still flew. Now, 51 years later, George Armistead's nephew is leading the Confederates against the very same Stars and Stripes.
Wow. Yeah, they're all at his grave. They left a lot of...
Because the width of the Confederate line has been narrowed as it advanced, it allowed Union forces on the right and left, on the right men from Ohio and New York, and on the left men from Vermont, to swing down and draw the ends of the Confederate lines.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're leaning on the rail or you're up next to the rail, that means the people behind you can't get out, nor can they take pictures either. Would you be kind enough and be courteous enough to your fellow man to step away from the rail and sit back in the hands, please?
Yeah, there's some officers.
As the Confederates advance toward the wall held by the Union forces, they are entering a gauntlet of three-sided assault. On their right from Vermonters, in front of them from Philadelphia troops at the wall, on their left from New York and Ohio. But in addition to that, Union cannons poured canister, which is basically like a shotgun being fired out of a cannon directly into Confederate face. And despite all this, Confederates not only reached the wall, they breached it and forced the Union troops back up onto the crest of Cemetery Ridge, where they would reform and be reinforced.
Yes, yes.
They would counterattack and converge upon the Confederates who had broken through the Union lines temporarily. The Confederates realized they need support to exploit their temporary breakthrough. They look back in the distance to the tree line they've come from, and basically see what you see today. Except for the dead and the wounded, the fields are empty. No one is coming. Now they begin to realize that Pickett's charge may be doomed to failure. General Longstreet, looking from the distant ridge to his binoculars, has determined that the attack is failed. He does not wish to send more good troops after a bad result.
A woman after his wife was on the Confederate line. Oh, yeah. She must be a nurse. Yeah.
As Confederates approach the Union wall, the Union defended wall, the Union soldiers reach out over the wall, and through all this noise and confusion and smoke, the Union soldiers beckon to the Confederates on the other side of the wall. Come on over. Come on over to this side of the war. Come on over as prisoners. We don't want to have to kill men so brave as to make this 20-minute charge, only to be killed in front of the wall. And many of them did cross, but only as prisoners. Only half the Confederates that make this charge will return to Seminary Ridge, and many of them will be carrying Yankee lead with them when they return, which of course means they're wounded. And that means that over 50% of the men who make this attack will become casualties of one form or another, killed, wounded, captured, and missing. The survivors stream back to Seminary Ridge. General Lee, their commander, comes out to greet them, and he tells them, all of this has been my fault. thought my men were invincible. You must do all you can to help me out of this. I asked his men to reform on Seminary Ridge against a possible Union counterattack. That will not come.
What really happened was this line up here, the blue line did not stand. No, they were gone. Well, no, they got through to the artillery. And so the Confederates were in here, and my grandfather started with 6 guns, he ended up with 1, and they got that one. And so these guys
With the conclusion of Pickett's
with
charge,
these ramrods,
battle of Gettysburg
the various,
come to a close.
you know,
Whatever they had.
whatever the
war
war
itself
they've run out of small
Continued for nearly 2 more years.
But you're right, the blue line was not still there. They were gone. And they're raising their hats. You know, because they're gone in retreat.
Jubilant
Yeah, right.
have avenged their loss 6 months before in
See,
Gettysburg, Virginia.
down there in
The day of the
Yeah.
attack, against Confederates behind a stone wall, only to be shot down. Upon realizing their victory, they began to chant,
that's,
Fredericksburg, Fredericksburg.
It's not the real reenactment.
after I saw a little bit of this in training,
Yeah.
some sergeant, some
Confederates
sergeant,
who had breached the Union line
one of
began to fall back.
commando guys,
Yeah.
said, okay, we're going to try a little hand-to-hand.
High tide.
I'm flying. I'm
Confederates would never fully recover from the loss of Gettysburg. The turning point in the war had been reached. The Union Army, which had lost a series of battles in the last 2 years, desperately needed victory, particularly on home soil. And they got it. It would come the turning point in the war. Confederates would never fully recover from the losses, even though the war lasted
You want a
2 more
t-shirt
years.
that says 150th Gettysburg?
What?
You want a t-shirt?